Hi,
And I'm Michael.
Direct, where we discuss all of the latest Nintendo news, rumors, and announcements. So we just want to apologize. We recorded this podcast. I made up. I goofed. The first little bit wasn't recorded, and I forgot to put headphones in, so there's some echo of Michael talking because we recorded over Skype. So I just want to apologize for that in advance. This should sound better, and this is the kind of quality we aim for the rest of our podcast going forward. So we really liked how this podcast turned out, so we just wanted you guys to hear it after. I might add subtitles for Michael just so that you can really get the gist of what he's saying.
Yeah,
Um,
we had some really good conversation, so it'd be kind of a shame to just scrap it
yeah.
because the
So
audio's crap.
what we missed out on was our introduction. So of course this is our first episode of the podcast, so we'll just introduce ourselves a little bit again. Um, So my name's Joel. I love Nintendo. I've loved Nintendo since I was a kid. I was raised on Nintendo systems. My first was a Nintendo Entertainment System, and the first one I really played was a Super NES. I was too young. I watched my dad play NES a lot. Played a lot of Duck Hunt. But I really started getting into kind of the history of Nintendo more recently, over the last few years. I'm really into collecting Nintendo merchandise, and I really love knowing the history about all sorts of Nintendo, like how they made Hanafuda cards and how they made board games and all these really crazy electronic toys. And my favorite game franchises are things like Mario Kart, Legend of Zelda. I'm a big fan of Pokemon and Custom Robo as well.
All right. I'm Michael. I'm also a pretty big Nintendo maniac. I haven't been playing as long as Joel has. Uh, I only started playing Nintendo games when my parents bought my sister and I a Game Boy Color with Pokemon Yellow. So I've only been playing since about, I guess, 1999 or so. But since then, I've become a huge fan of Nintendo. Well, let's just admit it, to extreme lengths. And I mean, I pretty much play anything with Nintendo's label on it. So
Yeah, same with me. Me and Michael are both trying to find copies of Style Savvy right now so we can experience those games.
yeah, our obsession runs deep.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Continue. Sorry.
But the big franchises for me are Fire Emblem, a game series that I am completely obsessed with. I've played every game in the series going back all the way to the original Fire Emblem, released for the Famicom.
I once asked Michael to make a roster of characters for Smash Bros that he'd like to see, and every single one of them was a Fire Emblem character. So and there was like 8 characters that he chose. So I'm sure he could choose tons more too.
In my defense, I was just trolling, but
I know.
I am a big Fire Emblem fan, and I'm also a big fan of Star Fox and Super Smash Brothers. Those three are my big series.
Um. So I guess we'll just the first part of our podcast that we originally recorded, like I said, it cut out. So just to kind of fill you in on what you're going to hear afterwards, me and Michael are just talking about the investors meeting that Iwata held this evening. Um, and the first point we wanted to discuss was that there was an early summer update coming to enhance the Wii U and the gamepad, and this included things like fast load times, uh, a Nintendo DS Virtual Console, and improved near field communication functions. So I guess that kind of uh, fills in the blanks about what we're going to talk about after this. So I hope you enjoy the podcast. And again, sorry, we hope to improve the quality from this point forward. So yeah, enjoy.
Thank you. About load times right now because I mean my TV it takes about 20 seconds for it just to display the image.
And
So
this is what I don't get because like it's almost as if the 20 seconds is like a huge deal, right? Like it's like we need to we need to like speed it up. Like we can't keep people's attention for these 20 seconds. Like we need to have this. We need to have this done. Like, but
Well, I think it's just one of those barriers to entry things. Because I mean,
yeah, but
if they're known as being the slow console, people aren't going to want to buy it.
but they're not. They're not known as a slow console. I turn on my PS3. Literally, anytime I put a disc in my PS3, I have to sit and load that thing for like 20 minutes. Like it has to download a new update or anything, and it literally drives me insane. Like that is a barrier to entry. A 20-second load time for a disc isn't.
Yeah, fair enough, but I mean, I understand that people can be impatient, and I mean, I'm not going to complain about this update happening. I mean, faster is good, but
That's true.
like personally, I've only been able to use my Wii U since last June, so for me, it hasn't been a horrible experience. But I can imagine that there are a lot of people who have been pretty frustrated by it.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, so the next thing is a DS Virtual Console, like you mentioned. This is a good idea, I think. It really opens up more games to the Wii U. So the Wii U can already play all of its Wii U games, which truthfully isn't that many, but it can also play every single Wii disc game. So it already has that entire library, and then depending on how many DS Virtual Console games they release, the library just keeps expanding and expanding. And plus with the current eShop and virtual console games that it has as well. So I bet some people are probably going to be like, oh, why isn't this DS Virtual Console on the 3DS? Like, why can't we just have the DS games playable on a 3DS? And to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense because you can already play DS games on a 3DS. So you can technically still get the physical copy and just play it. Whereas having the DS games on the Wii U kind of opens up that handheld market to people who might only be interested in buying home consoles. So they're like, oh, cool, I'm going to try these cool DS games. Oh, what? I can play these on a 3DS as well? What? I might as well buy a 3DS. There you go, boosting 3DS sales.
I gotta say, one thing I'm hoping from this, and I know that they don't really have a good track record of making this happen, but I hope some translated games that weren't ever available in North America will come to this.
Yeah.
Games like Tingle RPG and the sequel to Hotel Dusk, Last Window.
Yeah. Yeah, and that'd be good. Especially, but he mentioned that too, how Iwata mentioned how bringing new things to new markets is getting more expensive. So by releasing on Virtual Console, it really makes it into a non-issue for them. It's not, they don't have to pay money to distribute the cartridges. They don't have to pay money to manufacture the cartridges. There's nothing no prices or no cost associated with it besides the cost of transferring that data, which is probably very, very cheap.
And the ESRB rating, but I believe that's only about $2,500 for a game, so
yeah.
I mean, for a big multinational, that's pocket change.
I really hope that it really makes some of the more harder to find DS games available. Like, there's a few DS games that I never got a chance to play, like Super Princess Peach and WarioWare Wario Land Master of Disguise.
Oh, that's terrible.
I know it's terrible, but I never got a chance to play it, so I still want to play it. All right, Michael?
Okay.
Yeah, and I also want to play Spirit Tracks, and I want to play Chibi-robo Park Patrol, which is also a terrible game, apparently. But I never got to play those games, so I want to have the option to play them, and the DS Virtual Console might give me that option.
Yeah, absolutely. Like all virtual consoles, we know it's going to be slow going. It's not going to just open the floodgates, but yeah. I'm optimistic that we'll see good things coming down the pipeline.
Yeah. So let's talk about NFC, I guess. So, near-field communication is getting pretty commonplace in gaming, I guess, but also it's kind of rare. It's like the Wii U is the only console that has an actual dedicated near-field communication chip.
Right.
but like yet you have Skylanders and Disney Infinity are really they're on every console, so everybody knows about it. Maybe doesn't know.
Well, actually, I just want to point out that Skylanders, it doesn't use NFC. It uses the earlier type of NFC. I don't remember what it's called. Crap, I wish I had that. But
Oh well.
it's an older version that where it's not as well encrypted. So, like with NFC, you can have your credit card work with it, and it'll be a pretty safe method of payment. But RFC is easily hacked and
Oh,
it's
it's
a lot
RFC.
less secure.
Oh, so I guess NFC is the same thing that we use for like tap chips, right? Like on your card,
Uh,
maybe.
yeah, yes.
We'll have to look into that more. But it's like a really it's starting to gain a lot of foothold in not just it's in every electronics industry basically. So
Well, my understanding is that in Japan there are vending machines where you can just go up to them and put up your credit card or even your phone and just like
it's like
buy
boop boop
a can
boop
of
boop.
Coke or whatever.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's the kind of stuff. The payment thing is not a big deal to me. Like I don't mind manually inputting my credit card information or whatever to buy Nintendo points. What I want to see is more games that take advantage of the NFC, and from like a consumer point of view, like I find that Skylanders and Disney Infinity, they're really expensive, but from like a marketing point of view, they're brilliant. Like if that had come out when I was a child, I would have been hooked like from day one. Like I would have been an instant buy. And Nintendo had done the same thing with Pokemon Rumble U, and they released NFC figures for the game in Europe, the United States, and Japan. But Canada, where me and Michael live, never got these Pokemon Rumble U figures. If we order them in, we can still use them, but we never got a physical release of them. So to me, Pokemon Rumble U, the appeal of it was buying these figures, and then you have these figures, and you can also play the game with them. So I didn't download Pokemon Rumble U because I don't have the figures. So to me, it's kind of like they lose sales because they didn't want to bring it to our country. But I'd love to see more games do this kind of thing too. Like imagine a custom Robo game where you have little little robos that have swappable pieces that like you put them onto the NFC reader and then they actually appear in your game with those custom parts. And to get
That's
more,
actually a good idea.
it is a good idea. Yeah, see, I'm brilliant. I should be work for Nintendo. You hear that, Nintendo? Hire me. But I think it's a good idea, and there's like a lot of different applications. But me and Michael have had this discussion before. Noise, the development studio that works or that develops custom Robo, is a very small development studio, so that kind of thing is unlikely to happen. But you never know.
They could probably do the planning, but they need a third party to handle all of the models and whatnot.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got a lot of points about this investors meeting, so let's move on.
Right.
So the next is Mario Kart 8, which is, I guess, scheduled to have a world release. So go ahead.
Go on. Mario Kart 8. It's going to be released worldwide this May, so we're not totally sure if this is going to be like Pokemon, where it's released the same day everywhere. But it is scheduled to release in May in all territories.
Yeah, I think it would probably be like Pokemon, which would also make this the second worldwide release game that Nintendo's ever done, which is kind of cool. Even though in practice it didn't work that well, since like a lot of copies of Pokemon X and Y leaked really early. But I don't think Mario Kart 8.
It's Mario Kart.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's Mario Kart, so it's not as big as a deal leaking as Pokemon.
Yeah.
It doesn't have as much like impact in the community. At most, you'll have like a lot of people just spoiling what characters are secret unlocks online, but no big
Everyone
deal.
gets a baby version.
Whoa, babies everywhere! Baby Rosalina confirmed for Mario Kart 8.
Coming to Smash Bros. 5.
Yeah. So I guess that's exciting. Like I love Mario Kart. I'm actually pretty pumped. So May is going to be a good month. I'm actually all of 2004. The beginning months are all pretty sweet. We got like DK Tropical Freeze and Mario Kart, and hopefully Smash Bros comes out at some point in 2014. But those are all other discussions. So one of the other things that Iwata mentioned were new software pricing plans, I guess. So the idea is that they want to reward customers who purchase more games by giving them discounts. And this is more feasible now that they have the Nintendo Network ID system. And that's also can be linked to your Club Nintendo account, right? So
Yep.
that's how I would see this happening, is that they'd either give you coins based on coins for your Club Nintendo account based on how many games you purchase, and they recognize that, or it'd be a thing where they like just give you extra money, or I don't even know, but like credit your account to the eShop and be like, hey, you're awesome, thanks for buying our games, buy more please.
Well, I imagine the way it would work is that it would just keep a tally of what games you own,
Yeah.
and it would just calculate the discounts that you're going to get, because like they've had a lot of promos where you buy a game and you get a free game in exchange. So
Yeah.
they are tracking what you're buying. So
But
I
see,
think it'll work somewhat like that.
I would like to receive money for use in my eShop account, because like they might be like, okay, but they might be like, okay, you get a discount like on these games for because you bought this many games. But I don't want that. Like I want to just be freely able to pick like what I can get, right? Like I want to look through what I don't have and what I do have. And that might be how it is. I'm not saying it isn't. That's just what I feel.
Well, they do already give people money for buying games. Like for anyone who owns the deluxe Wii U, you get every eShop item you buy, you get 10% back, and
Oh, I totally forgot about that actually.
And what's great is that it even works for DLC stuff. So like you really rack points pretty fast.
Oh, did it transfer over to DS as well?
Oh no, it's on 3DS, but I bought Batman Arkham Origins, and it came with a code for a free DLC pack, and I got points for the DLC, which I didn't even pay money for.
Oh, that's cool. So yeah, more stuff like that is good. It kind of reminds me about how Reggie sent out those Pizza Hut gift cards to North American customers. I don't know what the requirements for receiving these gift cards were. I wish I got one, because a card from Reggie is a great thing, and so is pizza.
Yeah.
I guess moving on, one of the bigger things that Iwata talked about during the investors meeting tonight was Nintendo's plans to expand into a new bluer ocean, which he mentioned a lot of times, which was kind of hard to read. But this included plans to improve gamers' quality of life, and just people in general, not even gamers, just people who enjoy Nintendo products, I guess. So it's a broad focused category, with the keyword being health. So what this means is that Nintendo was looking to kind of go into more health oriented games, kind of focusing on things that they did with the touch generation games. So everything from Wii Fit to Big Brain Academy to Brain Age. I don't know. Help me out, Michael. What are some other things?
There was Cooking Navi, Art Academy, all those touch generations titles.
All the games that Nintendo makes that aren't like, they're not strictly games. They're like applications to help you. So they are planning on doing more kinds of titles like that with a focus on health, and they wanted to make non-wearable. What was the quote he used? Non-wearable technology.
Yeah.
So what this says to me is that they want to focus more on the health industry apparently, um, and it reminds me a lot of the vitality monitor that they are making for the Wii. It was a peripheral that never happened. I think it was supposed to go with Wii Fit, right?
No, it was never announced for any particular
They
software.
just developed it.
It was actually not even developed by the Wii Fit team. It was actually developed by the WarioWare and Rhythm Heaven staff.
I like how like all of Nintendo staff, they just do all these crazy things. Like one day they're making like a WarioWare game, the next day they're making a heart rate monitor. Like that's so awesome. Um, but what it makes me think that they're gonna like roll out some sort of line of um like health equipment, right? Like heart rate monitors or like those little things that you give to seniors in case they fall down, like life alert medals. Like call Nintendo if you've fallen down, like they can help you. Like it almost seems like in the future Nintendo will roll out this like line of Monita robots, Monita from Nintendo Land, and they'll just be like working in hospitals, like helping people out and giving people medication and making sure people are fit and well looked after.
Well, I was just thinking this right now, but as we all know, the population of Japan is, it's an extremely inverted pyramid where you've got lots of old people,
Yeah,
not a lot of children replacing them.
yeah, and that's just because there's like a huge baby boom.
So I wonder if that's kind of their way of dealing with that sort of demographic shift.
It might be. I don't know, because
if there aren't children that are going to be buying games in the same numbers there were 20 years ago, does it make sense to keep going after the shrinking amount of children?
And that could kind of, did you read that thing that Iwata was quoted saying, but they couldn't exactly translate it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that could reflect on that. So Iwata was quoted as saying either that Nintendo can't rely on children anymore, or that Nintendo needs to expand just their general demographic. So if it makes sense if it's they can't rely on children anymore, so the health quality of life plans kind of focus on that, right? Like that reflects in that.
Right.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo actually started making like health equipment, because it's not the first time that they've gone and done kind of like weird shifts in their market scheme. Like in the 60s, they made the photo copila, right? So
yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing. Like they're just trying out new things, trying out different markets. Like who knows what's going to happen? I'm all for it. Like Nintendo's been around for a very long time, so I'm not afraid that they're gonna make a wrong call or do the wrong thing. And just as a clarification, this is like an extension of their business, and it's not meant to overtake traditional game development. So some people might be afraid that because they're going to be focusing on this health kind of term, that other games are going to be kind of left in the dust. Like this is for sure going to mean that F-Zero is never going to be released, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that, right? Like they're still gonna have other development teams working on the games that we know and love. We're gonna have new Mario games. We're gonna have new stuff. It's not like Nintendo's gonna be forcing Wii Fit down our throat or whatever like that. I'm actually just really excited to see what they do.
I mean, they still make trump cards and board games. So I mean, they're a big company and they can do different things.
And they can afford it. They can afford to take these risks.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I guess moving on from that, you can go ahead, Michael.
All right. Well, a big objective for Shigeru Miyamoto this year is developing software that really makes good use of the Wii U gamepad. Last year, there were some games that made good use of it, but a lot of them didn't. Like
it mostly focuses on off TV play.
Like there were exceptions like Game and Wario, which made really good use of it, but for the most part, it was really just kind of there.
You know what my favorite part of the gamepad so far, like my favorite usage of it was so far?
What?
In Wonderful 101 when they go inside of buildings.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you have to like look onto the Wii pad.
Yeah.
Or something like Zombie U as well, where your inventory screen is the gamepad, but you like the stuff's still happening on screen, like you can't like look at it for very long.
Well, I find like even simple uses of it, like just as a map, makes games so much more fun to play. Like playing Pikmin with the gamepad,
Yeah.
it just feels more satisfying to me than not having it.
Yeah, same thing with like Monster Hunter and like having an ability to like quick access your inventory. And that was the same thing they went for with Wind Waker HD as well, like making the inventory much easier to access without having to stop your game repeatedly, like changing your items.
Like it's not earth shattering, but it just makes the game.
Yeah, it's like having the second screen on the DS, right? Like a lot of games still use that, but it still works. Like it does what it needs to do. But I'm still excited to see what Miyamoto could come up with. So me and Michael kind of discussed this a little bit. Like, could he be working on a new IP? We know that he's already working on a sequel to Steel Diver, which was a 3DS. What's that called when it comes out first? Launch title. That's right. Yeah. So Steel Diver Sub Wars is the name of this new game, and it's supposed to be a free-to-play online Steel Divers multiplayer game, I guess. So is this the game? Are they gonna is Miyamoto just gonna change it to work better on the gamepad single player? Because if it's an online game, you're still gonna be playing it by yourself, but it just might focus more on the gamepad.
I just don't see them betting everything on Steel Diver. I mean,
yeah.
I really like Steel Diver, but for the general public, it just really didn't fly.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of that is because it was sold at $40. I mean, in my opinion, I think it would have been the ideal game to launch on the eShop.
Probably. Steel Diver, I don't remember. I vaguely remember, but Steel Diver, when you're playing, the bottom screen is a bunch of like dials and like wheels and stuff, right?
Yeah, you use that to control the sub moves.
Yeah, that'd be pretty fun on the Wii pad.
Yeah, and I mean, going for the free to play model, it would definitely work. I think for Steel Diver.
Yeah.
And one thing that I want to comment about free to play, how they're doing, is I really like how Nintendo is doing it because they already have one free to play title out in Japan, Darumenshi Sports Store.
I've never even heard of that.
No?
No.
Okay.
Enlighten us, Michael.
Well, it's a game that's all about baseball. What happens is that you go to a sports store that's run by this cartoon dog, and he gives you one free mini game to play. So you get that mini game and you have that forever. It costs you nothing.
Yeah.
But if you want to get more mini games, then you have to pay the fee.
How much are they on average? Like a couple hundred yen?
Yeah, something like that. And
I could imagine like 500 yen.
I think it's 400 yen.
Which would be about $4 or $5 for people who aren't glorious weeaboos like me and Michael.
But you can even negotiate with the dog to get a lower price on games.
Really?
Yeah, you can.
That's actually really cool. I like that idea.
Like it's not gonna be crazy savings, but it's still like 25 cents off.
I just hope it doesn't evolve into something like say like Candy Crush or more traditional like iPhone games and stuff like that, where they're free to play, but they're like constantly asking you if you want to spend money. Like it's like, oh, you seem to be dying. Why don't you buy this invincibility thing? Or like, oh, you've run out of this special power up. Like if in Steel Diver they could be like, oh, do you want more of these missiles? Like, buy it for 99 cents.
I I don't think they would do that.
Yeah, I think
it just
Nintendo's
doesn't
really
seem
against that.
Nintendo.
Yeah, agreed. So whether it's a new IP or an old IP, I'm excited to see like what kinds of things they can push the gamepad to do, because we've already seen like a lot of different things that it can do, especially with the Wii U Sports Golf. I like that. Like I haven't played it, but like I remember seeing the video when the Wii U was first talked about, and they showed the person using the Wiimote and like hitting the ball off of the gamepad,
Yeah.
and that was just so neat. Like I was like, my mind was just blown. So I'd like to see like crazy new developments, see how hard they can push the gamepad, and like see if they can make something that will make people want a Wii U.
And I mean, Demon Wario also had a lot of, good ideas in it. It's really a shame that people shunned the game the way they did because, I mean, in my opinion, I think it's a worthy addition to the WarioWare series.
I think it's a little small for my liking, but I love it as a game. So
I mean, unlocking all of those, that stuff in the lottery machine,
yeah,
there are so many crazy things there.
yeah, yeah. There is some of those little like applications are so messed up. But that's an entirely another discussion as well.
Right.
So you can keep going since you're so adamant on discussing this one point.
Alright. Well, one thing that was odd from the investors' Q&A is that France has had really strong Wii U sales compared to the United States and the UK. And to be honest, I think that's something that has been a long time in the making because I think Nintendo France has done a really good job of getting goodwill with consumers there. Because I remember they really promoted the hell out of Xenoblade and Pandora's Tower, unlike any of the other regions did.
Yeah.
I mean, even in France, you got like 200-page art book for registering it Xenoblade on Club Nintendo.
Yeah, I'm just got to jump in and say I know like nothing about Nintendo France, so.
Well, I mean, like for years it was, it was like, oh God, Nintendo of Europe, they're so horrible. Can't they do anything right? But for the past few years, I mean, Nintendo of Europe, I'd say, has been doing better than Nintendo of America.
Yeah, like Nintendo of Europe, they got the Project Rain coins, so they got the Last Story, Pandora's Tower, and Xenoblade coins just for registering the game. We didn't get jack. What is up with that?
Well, I mean, Nintendo of America only published Xenoblade. The rest were handled by Xseed.
Yeah, that's true.
And they published Fatal Frame 2 in Europe, the remake.
Who, Xseed or Nintendo?
Nintendo.
Yeah.
And like, they published the sequel to Trace Memory in Europe, which we never got in North America.
So basically, Reggie, if you're listening, publish more games that people want here. Just do it. Just do it. It's easy.
And I mean, Hotel Dusk was such a great game. It gets published in Europe, never comes out over here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think people give a lot of shit to Nintendo of Europe. But I think in the past few years they've done a lot to really rid themselves of that reputation.
Okay, well, keeping going, we'll talk about something I'm more confident talking about because I don't know, like I said, I don't know anything about Nintendo France. But one of the other things that Iwata mentioned was licensing IPs. So it's going to be more lenient on how they're licensing IPs to companies to make merchandise, as well as how IPs are going to be licensed to external developers. So we've already seen this kind of thing. I know more about the product side of thing than Michael does because I do a lot of collecting of Nintendo merchandise. So this is already evident with a company that makes toys in North America called Jakks Pacific. Um, they do a lot of the like WWE wrestling action figures and stuff like that. But they were recently awarded the license from Nintendo to basically create a Nintendo line of or of toys in general. And it's not just like Mario or it's not just like Zelda. It's all of Nintendo, as far as I'm aware. Like we could see, and these toys are slated to come out like this year. So this year we could see like a Captain Falcon action figure with like real Falcon punching action.
Probably just gonna be a remodel of Triple H or some wrestler.
Yeah, I don't even care as long as we have an official Captain Falcon figure or like action figure. Like I'm all right. I'm good as gravy. But it's kind of cool seeing like more stuff. And of course you have these other things. Like you have Bandai in Japan. They just announced their SH Figure Arts Mario articulated figure. And then you also have things like the Nendoroid Luigi that's coming out, as well as the Toon Link. And then you have the Lucina Figma coming out. So you have all these. It seems like just recently a ton of Nintendo merchandise is like popping up.
Well, historically, President Yamachi only wanted Mario to be merchandise. He was worried that if other Nintendo IPs got merchandise the same way Mario did, that it would hurt Mario as a brand overall.
But
I think, 30 years ago that wisdom was sound, but I mean, now Mario is such a well-known figure, they do have the luxury of, licensing everything else now.
Yeah, like how many kids? Like imagine if a new Metroid game was released, and then at the same time they released a line of like Metroid action figures. Like you could have like Samus in her power suit with like one of those guns, those spring-loaded guns that just shoots like little missiles with some Metroids. It not only would sell well with kids like who were playing the game or whatever, but also people who are like diehard collectors. Like I pretty much go out of my way to collect almost whatever I can, and some of the older toys that Nintendo's made are so expensive. Not even Nintendo, but like their licensed products, like for example, the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time action figures that were released. These were like back in like 1998 and 2000. They're like $90 now for a Ganondorf figure I saw the other day. Or it's like that Punch Out toy I sent to you the other day on eBay, which was $60 for this non-articulated little toy of Little Mac from Punch Out. So
God, figures in the 80s were so horrible.
yeah, but it's like it's also cool because it's like a nice piece, right? It's like a time capsule almost.
Yeah.
You kind of get to see what it is. So that's
one other thing I just want to comment on that is that Iwata mentioned going into things like selling wallpapers for people's smartphones using Nintendo characters. So we'll also see that kind of licensing.
But we've kind of seen that kind of stuff too with through Club Nintendo. They have like computer wallpapers and stuff. But I guess wallpapers for phones are a little bit more, or like we could see things like cases and stuff, like legit licensed cases and not rip off knockoffs from like China.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be all right. And then furthermore, on this same kind of thing, Miyamoto also was talking about how he wanted to give more IPs to external devs, and I'll let Michael talk more about this because he's better with like the development kind of stuff than I am. So.
Okay. Well, traditionally Nintendo has been very conservative about letting their IPs out. I mean, of course, over the past few years we've seen that change. Like, a third-party developer making a new Luigi's Mansion game that would have been unheard of 10 years ago. But now we see them letting Next Level Games develop Luigi's Mansion, and I think the big thing is that Nintendo realizes that they can't do everything by themselves. So we're going to be seeing more things like that. We're going to see I mean, hell, we're seeing things like Zelda Muso coming out from Tecmo Koei this year, so they're going to be branching out to different third-party developers and saying, hey,
yeah,
why don't you take this license and make a game for us?
and it's also even like bringing Namco on with Smash Bros too, like just getting bigger teams together, right?
Well, I believe that Namco actually set up a company where their entire purpose is to make games for other people.
Oh, but I know Namco has a pretty good relationship with Nintendo because they have like the Mario Kart Arcade GP series, and they also helped. I don't know if you've ever heard about this, but it's like the Triforce chip.
Yep.
Yeah, so the Triforce chip is a chip used in arcade games that was co-developed by Nintendo, Sega, and Namco Bandai, or I guess it's now known as Bandai Namco. They changed the name. So yeah, it's like
supposed to make an arcade Star Fox game, but
then
it never happened.
Come on, Nintendo, get on it. Anyways, so yeah, keep going. Oh, actually, can I jump in again for a sec?
Yeah, go ahead.
To an extent, I'm actually surprised about the external dev kind of thing, because I would think they would have kind of receded back into their shell regarding that after Metroid Other M was released, just because they expected it to do so well, and then it flunked so badly in sales.
True, but I mean, on the other hand, look at Luigi's Mansion, and
that's true.
It's almost 4 million in sales.
Yeah, totally. So it's kind of hit or miss, I guess. It just depends on the developer and like the franchise they're working with.
Realistically, let's be honest, Team Ninja is not the development studio they were 10 years ago.
Yeah, I've never like really played any new Ninja Gaiden games.
After Itagaki left Team Ninja, they just haven't been the same.
Yeah, I'm gonna not talk about that because I don't really know a lot about it. So.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, so let's move on, I guess.
All
right. So we're getting close to the end of our list about the investors meeting, and we've got a little bit to talk about after that. So the next point we'd like to make is how they discussed the desire to make handhelds and consoles more like siblings than rivals. And this actually kind of reminds me of like the Mario and Luigi RPG series. Like, if they made a new console and they called it Big Bro and Little Bro, am I right?
I guess.
But the idea is that they want to have one operating system for both the systems, similar to how like Android, all Android products share like Ice Cream or what I don't know, Honeycomb or like whatever OSs they have, and the iPhone and the iPad both share the iOS blank number, and that's kind of just to make it easier to kind of link these systems together. Like, one of the problems they talked about was bringing Miiverse onto the 3DS because they have different architectures, so it was kind of a challenge to get it to work properly, but they ended up doing this. So in the future, for new consoles, they want to kind of bring them together and make them they want them to complement each other instead of segregating users.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, look at how dominant the 3DS has become. I mean, pretty much every third-party developer in Japan is making games with 3DS. So if you were to share its operating system with the Wii U, it would be much easier to be able to convince devs to say, hey, why don't you make a Wii U version of this game? Because you already have the tools to make 3DS games.
Yeah.
But every time a new console is released, the devs need to learn everything about that console, and I mean, whenever a new console is released, there's always this big developer's manual. They're like 500 pages long and really dense technical stuff.
It'd be cheaper for Nintendo too, because if they shared the same OS, they'd only have to make one dev kit for both systems, correct?
Right.
So they don't have to send all these like really expensive dev kits all over the place to people who may or may not even be interested in making games. Um, so they kind of save money in that way, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
um, the one thing though that this reminds me of is like just the other week we had those Fusion rumors, right? The
Yeah.
specs for the Fusion, bringing the handheld and home console together into one conglomerate system. So it kind of gives credence to that. That it's kind of ironic that, or kind of coincidental, I guess, that he talks about bringing these together and making them more like siblings. And this fusion was rumored. So is it gonna happen? Yes, no, maybe.
I think the fusion itself isn't going to happen, but something in that vein. Well,
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, anyways.
I'm pretty convinced that leak is just bullshit.
Yeah.
But there is something in the works.
So do you want to talk about this next thing then?
Okay. This point it came from the question and answer period the from the investors meeting. We only have an interpretation of this point from David Gibson, an analyst who was at the meeting. So this may not be completely accurate, but it's what we have to the best of our knowledge right now. And one point that Iwata made is that he wants to ally with another company that has similar philosophies to Nintendo, because Nintendo can't do everything by itself. And Mr. Gibson, he said, I think it could be Disney, that company that he's referring to.
So what would this mean? Like, would Disney and would Disney and Nintendo be making more games together, or would Disney be using Nintendo IPs? Like, what's going on?
I think it could be a mix of both. I mean, like, let's just, for the sake of discussion, say that it is Disney. I mean, like, tying in with the licensing thing, you could maybe be meeting Mario and Princess Peach when you go to Disneyland.
Oh, or actually, Nintendo products being extended into all these Disney stores, right? You have tons
Mm-hmm.
of kids going in there, and you already have like a huge selection of things through Disney. Like you have Power Rangers, you have all the Marvel characters. So I think that'd actually be really good exposure on like a merchandise kind of way. That's actually, I like that. That's a good idea. It's kind of ironic actually though talking about it because Nintendo, or Iwata, I guess, was talking about how they need Nintendo characters to be more kind of in the open so that more people can see them, right?
Yeah.
And recently we had a Disney movie, and they're talking about allying with Disney, or hypothetically allying with Disney, maybe. And there's this Disney movie that came out, Wreck-It Ralph. You saw that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Disney wanted to use Nintendo characters in Wreck-It Ralph, and they did use Bowser. But they couldn't use Mario because Nintendo wanted too much money to put him in the movie.
Well,
So
I just want to say we don't actually know if that's true. There are conflicting stories about what happened.
well, that's what I read. So I don't.
That's fine. Go on.
So, but no, that's my whole point, right? Like, it's kind of like an ironic thing that Nintendo is now realizing all these things that people have been saying about them, and like all these things they kind of need to change about themselves. And I just hope it's not too little, too late kind of situation. I think they're moving in the right direction though with a lot of these things they've talked about.
Well, Disney is an interesting company because in the 50s, it was really Disney that made Nintendo into the big company that we know it today.
Yeah, that's actually true. I never even thought about that part.
Because Disney, they licensed their characters to be sold on Nintendo products in Japan,
And these Nintendo products were cards. When this is when Nintendo still made cards.
Well, not just cards, but board games.
Yeah. I was gonna say that evolved into like their board games and other licensed products, puzzles and stuff like that.
I mean, even in the 80s, they were releasing Nintendo-themed Game & Watch systems.
Yeah.
So The two companies definitely have a long history together.
Yeah, I never even thought about that part. So, really, when you think about it, it makes sense the two of them getting together.
And I mean, it's likely that they would have people that are in contact with each other. Like, probably not, all the way in California, but definitely in Disney Japan. So
Yeah. Huh. I'd be okay with meeting Mario and Princess Peach at Disneyland. That'd be sweet. It'd give me a reason to go again.
go for the first time.
Yeah. What? Oh yeah, me and you could go together.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll leave Crystal here. She's making sad bros before hoes. She's making sad faces now. She's just mad. Anyways, so that's all we had to talk about the investor meeting. I know it's kind of like a lot to talk about and it's a lot to take in. And of course, over the next few weeks, we're going to see what other people think about this and like if it's going to change slow, is it going to change fast? Most of it's probably going to be slow because it's Nintendo. Nintendo's slow, am I right?
Yeah. But the transcript for the Q&A is probably going to come out in a few days, so we may even be talking about this more in the next podcast.
Yeah, I'm sure if they make a Nintendo Direct like soon too, it's probably going to be mentioned or talked about in some capacity of like what they're planning on doing.
I kind of think that if we didn't have one now, there's not going to be one coming until. Well, I guess Donkey Kong's coming out in a little over a week, so.
I don't know. The investor meetings are kind of like more technical, right? So doing a Nintendo.
Usually they release a direct around that time, because like if there's bad news, it's like, don't worry, look at all this stuff we've got coming out.
I guess.
Trying to happen.
But I don't know. I still feel like there was going to be one, but the investors meeting kind of took precedence for Iwata.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
So, because like
I guess we'll see in the next 2 weeks or so.
Yeah. So me and Michael are just going to talk about a little bit of other stuff that we kind of just want to talk about. It's going to be pretty quick, so we're going to kick it off with Chibi-robo Photo Finder.
All right. You want to start?
Sure. So Chibi-robo Photo Finder is a game that's on Nintendo eShop for 3DS right this second. You can go download it. It's pretty cheap. What is it? $14? $10? $10. It's this is like a mini review basically. So it's a good game. I like it. It's fun. It's the fourth title in the Chibi-robo series. So there's one for GameCube, which is Chibi-robo. Chibi-robo Park Patrol for DS. There's also Chibi-robo Big Rich Happy Sweep or something like that for the DS, but that was only released in Japan. And then there's Chibi-robo Photo Finder. So basically the whole point of the game is to grind for heart points, and then you can buy more film, silhouette film, and then use the 3DS camera to take pictures of real life objects, and then Chibi-robo puts those in a museum inside the game. And that's pretty much it. Overall, I like the game. Chibi-robo is a great character. This is my first Chibi-robo experience, so I really love him as a Nintendo character. Like, he's cute. I love the amount of emotion he has, even though he has no face really besides eyes. And I love like the crazy characters that are just in this game, like the DJ Squeegee Bear or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Like that guy, I laughed. I actually laughed out loud when I saw him. And like Drake Redcrest is back, and he's cool. He reminds me of Captain Falcon, actually. Overall, though, like the game, I know you agree with me on this, but like, I find that the game, the 3DS's camera isn't good enough to take quality pictures, and sometimes the film that you get to take pictures with doesn't line up. So it can be really hard to get like really clear photographs of things that you want to take pictures of and then have them uploaded into your game. And other than that, I just found overall that like you have these really colorful characters, but you also have these really realistic textures and backgrounds in the game, which kind of just they threw me off. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was just the mood I was in when I was playing the game or like what, but like it just kind of like bothered me internally, and I don't know why. I haven't finished it yet, so I have to play more of it. So I'll be able to kind of think about that more about how I feel about that effect of the game. But overall, I give it like a thumbs up. I'm not gonna give it a number rating, but it's like a go buy game. Support the Chibi-robo franchise. I'm actually really surprised we got a sequel. So support it, and hopefully we can get more Chibi-robo.
Yeah, I just want to echo your comments. It is a good game. It's not nearly as ambitious as the original Chibi-robo was for GameCube. But I mean, for $10, I think you get a lot of good value in the game. And Skip, the developer that makes Chibi-robo, they're really great. I mean, I haven't played anything from them that I didn't like. So, if you don't own this game, go out and buy it right now.
You don't even have to go out and buy it. You just open your DS and you buy it.
Yeah.
So
maybe you need to go get some point cards.
maybe, yeah. But either way, it's a good game to buy. Do it. It is Nintendo Indirect recommended. So I think we'll just kind of go on to another Nintendo Indirect recommended game. This is gonna be a thing now. Nintendo Indirect recommended games, just so you know. That was directed at you, Michael.
Okay, alright. So, The Wonderful 101. A game from Platinum Games where you have a team of superheroes and you need to save the world from an alien invasion.
Yeah, Geth Jerk.
Yeah, Geth Jerk. In my opinion, The Wonderful 101 basically is the model of what an action game should be, because every time the game is in danger of getting stale, they shake things up. I mean, like, I own Ninja Gaiden, and after a while that game gets super repetitive. I mean, you're just killing the same enemies over and over again, but Wonderful 101. One day you're just fighting enemies normally, the next you're in a Punch-Out style boss fight, then next you're in a Star Fox type of battle, and I mean, this game is what all action games should aspire to be. Definitely thumbs up for me.
Yeah, I haven't played a lot. I haven't played as much as Michael's played yet because I've just got so many games on the go right now. It's ridiculous. But Wonderful One is definitely a thumbs up. It's a unite thumbs up for me.
Right.
But Wonderful 101's kind of like old news at the moment because it's been out for a while. Unfortunately, it's really like underrated. It's not talked about a lot about. It didn't really get a lot of marketing, so it wasn't as it's not as popular as it should be. So if you have a chance, you should either download or buy Wonderful 101 and give it a chance.
What I will say is that if you're buying a Wii U and you can only buy one game, I would definitely say Wonderful 101.
Wonderful 101 would be a wonderful choice of a game to buy.
There's no other game like it, period.
Yeah.
I mean, Super Mario 3D World is great, but I mean, it's not as unique as the Wonderful 101.
Yeah, Wonderful 101 has like the craziest dialogue I've ever experienced in a game, and that's what literally seals the deal for me. Is that just the way characters talk and the way characters move in cutscenes and stuff like that is just hilarious. Like it's very rarely that I like openly laugh at games. I'll like usually chuckle or like internally think about laughing. I'll breathe a little harder. But like Wonderful 101 actually makes me like laugh.
Oh yeah, the dialogue, it's great. I mean, if you played Kid Icarus Uprising, it's definitely similar to that, and I'd say even more hilarious.
Yeah. So mostly what me and Michael wanted to talk about was a lot of people have been asking Hideki Kamiya, who is the creator of Wonderful 101. Also, I can't ask him questions anymore because he banned me on Twitter, which is kind of hilarious, but makes me kind of sad now. I got banned for asking questions about Star Fox when he said that he'd ban anybody else, and I didn't see that. So, anyways, so with that, a lot of people have been asking him about like a sequel to Wonderful 101, and I think it's a little soon to make a sequel, but Wonderful 102 is definitely something he wants to make. And I guess he was recently just talking about making a spin-off of Wonderful 101 based on one of the characters named Wonder Blue. And Michael knows more about this side of this as well.
Okay. The game he was talking about making would be a hack and slash spin-off starring Wonder Blue, and he's a character whose weapon is a sword. So think kind of like Dynasty Warriors, but I mean, being Cameo, you know it's going to be way more ambitious than any Dynasty Warriors game there ever has been or ever will be. And even beyond the hack and slash game, he also talked about making. Oh, I should also say that the hack and slash game, he said he wanted to make that on 3DS.
Oh, okay, yeah. And it was also stated that it would be more mature than Wonderful 101 is. Like, I guess more like gritty or dark. I don't know. I don't know what he means exactly by that statement, but
I just can't see that from Wonder Blue.
taste my Valiantium blade.
But beyond that, he also talked about wanting to make a buddy cop type of software for starring Wonder Blue and Wonder Green. For those of you who haven't played the game, Wonder Green, he's a character and he uses a gun, and he's only 12 years old in the game, whereas Wonder Blue is an adult. And they have this kind of love-hate relationship. They're always making fun of each other, but when the time calls for it, they come together and kick ass. But I mean, those two, they just have such amazing chemistry in the game that it only makes sense for them to get a spin-off.
Yeah. I'd like that. Like, I love Wonder Green. I think is hilarious too, because he's French, right? So
yeah,
all his ridiculous overblown French accent and all his romantic French cliches and stuff like that. Like it's great.
Appelle Christine Dae.
Yeah, he makes me laugh. So yeah, that might be coming to us soon or sometime in the future. Wonderful 102, Wonder Blue hack and slash, Wonder Blue, Wonder Green buddy cop game. And I'd say bring it on.
Absolutely. Or Wonderful 101 is wonderful to me.
Yeah. So I guess we're Wonderful 10 done talking about that. Get it? Anyways, we're gonna talk about what?
Moving on.
We're gonna talk about Super Smash Bros, which is something me and Michael could talk about for hours upon hours upon hours, which is really disgusting. I think we actually talked about that in the beginning, but we're just gonna talk about generally some of the stuff that's been announced over the last week or so. So one of the screenshots that for people who don't know, Smash Bros is updated every day of the week except Saturday and Sunday by Sakurai, the guy that makes the game, with screenshots, and he talks a little bit about the game. Usually doesn't say a lot, but recently he's been saying more about the game. So he's been talking about how Rosalina's attacks work, how there's priority in screen or ledge grabbing now, and just kind of general gameplay mechanics like that. So it kind of alludes to me that the game is closer and closer to being finished because he's more confident about being able to talk about gameplay changes.
Oh yeah, the nuts and bolts are definitely in place at this point.
Yeah. So I'm pretty excited to play it. Like Michael knows this, but I really want to play this game. Like if I was gonna die and I had a Make-A-Wish Foundation wish, I would make a wish that Sakurai would let me play this game, and he probably wouldn't. He probably wouldn't let me.
But what if he did, but he only gave you Mario, Link, Pikachu and Kirby.
Okay, my make-a-wish would be to know the final roster for Super Smash Bros. That's all I care about. I don't even need to play it. I just want to know what characters are in it. And then I'd probably die really upset because Ridley probably won't be in it.
Meh.
So one of the other screenshots showed a new item, which is the beetle from Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword. And I know you brought this up to me the other day, but I never responded to you because I was asleep probably. But I think this item is hilarious. I think it's going to cause so much anger between people because the way it just grabs you and carries you away.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it's like a random too. Like sometimes you might get a stamina beetle and it just carries you like really far away from like whatever.
That'd be a good
And
idea.
yeah, that'd be a good idea. I think it'd be fun. Like I would totally put the beetle on high, and that's the only item, and just spam it so hard.
I wonder if the deal would be effective against Rosalina, or if her down B would just make it reflect away.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe not. I guess we'll find out. Um, so one of the things that I think is the most interesting, there's two big things going on right now with Smash. The first is there's been like these leaked. I'm air quoting. You can't see it obviously because it's a podcast. But there's leaked images of Palutena being a playable character. Palutena is the goddess from Kid Icarus. If you don't know about Kid Icarus, and a lot of people want her as a playable character in this game. I'd probably say she's one of the more top requested characters. And so these leaked images show her being a playable character. So and nobody knows if they're real. A lot of people think they're real. A lot of people think they're just really good fakes. Um, I think personally there's a really good chance of them being real.
I think Palutena is probably playable. I mean, as far as newcomers go, she makes sense.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if someone wants to make a good fake, there are people that, they really know their stuff.
But the thing is, like, we know how good of a troll Sakurai can be. And last night, he posted the Palutena statue photo. And to me, that's kind of just like a haha. And like the day after that picture leaked, he posted that picture of Viridi being in the game as well, but in the background.
But we don't even know how far away those screenshots are planned. I mean, they could have decided weeks in advance that they were going to show that screenshot that day.
Yeah, but you're implying that Sakurai can't do whatever the hell he wants and just be like, you know what, guys, scrap that picture. We're showing this one just to make people angry.
But he'd have to communicate with staff in North America, so that they'd be able to translate it.
Yeah, but I'm sure they could get someone to do that like 5 minutes. It's only a sentence, so. The next thing is related to Palutena, and that's he showed this screenshot of a lot of people were like, when they first showed the screenshot of the Spirit Tracks level for 3DS, they're like, Toon Link's not going to be in the game. Toon Link's driving a train. How is that going to work? But he just recently showed a screenshot that shows that when Toon Link is a playable or is being played as a character in the game, it replaces the Toon Link driving the train with another character from Spirit Tracks named Alfonso. And to me, this is fishy because Alfonso has an outline which kind of suggests that he is he's there, right? All the characters have outlines. But I think this image is faked by Sakurai because like his outline is like really choppy looking compared to everything else, and nothing else on the 3DS stage. I'm looking at the screenshot right now and analyzing it critically. So like Alfonso is the only thing outlined with the characters. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. Like to me, it would just make it more confusing because it's like, oh, Alfonso's outlined. Is someone playing as him? Let's try attacking him. Let's try doing this, and then you're opening yourself up, right? And then furthermore, when you look at the old screenshot of Toon Link driving the train in his little conductor outfit, he's not outlined. So why is there a difference?
I'm also looking at the picture too, and I'm kind of thinking I don't think he's outlined. I think it's just the low resolution makes it look like he has an outline. But I
Actually,
mean,
yeah, I could see that
his
maybe.
bandana, it, he doesn't really stick out from the stage itself.
Yeah, like his the outlines are like really irregular. You see what I mean? Like by
Yeah,
his left thigh is like really thickly outlined.
I think it's just more the poor resolution makes it look like he has one than him
Hmm.
actually having one.
Maybe you're right. I guess we'll find out, won't we?
He will.
Anyways, that's all we have for our Nintendo Indirect discussion for tonight. So we hope you enjoyed it. If you lasted this long into it, we're really happy that you listened to it all. Uh, we plan to make more. Make sure you tell us what you'd like to talk about, what you think about what we talked about in the comments. We'll talk about some things that you guys asked us about maybe later on.
Maybe
Um,
not.
maybe not, whatever we feel like. We might forget. But anyways, thanks for listening to us. I'm Joel,
And I'm Michael.
and this was Nintendo Indirect. Good night.
Thank